So Crispin, what happens then if there's an update, it needs to be created and delivered? Like what can happen if it's missed, or whether the user doesn't apply the update or the vendor doesn't actually create and send out that update? What types of impacts are we looking at? Is it just, oh, I can't, use the particular feature? Would I not even be able to open the application altogether?
Yeah, I mean, without dismissing the question, it really depends what the software does, right? So we've worked in some environments like trading, right? Trading platforms in the City of London. And if you don't have an update 8 a.m. Monday morning, you haven't got the latest financial data, you can't trade, right?
Mm,
Likewise, if you don't get those updates hourly, right? Thomson Reuters have a platform that feeds all the market data globally. It's a crazy big platform. And what that actually does is it stores updates almost like in a buffer, right? And then it releases them based on the enterprise, IT guys. And so if there's a problem, it's got about 2 hours, right, lead time. But again, it's live updates, right? I mean, we all have it with our antivirus, that kind of thing. What happens if you don't update? It could be nothing. It could be trivial. You could lose millions of dollars because you're trading on a different, number. Frankly, I think it's about knowing what to do if it doesn't update. So how can you mitigate that? Do you roll it back to an old version? Do you warn the user that they're now running in a different situation? They may be running offline and they can
mm.
sync up. Like a lot of systems will do that. It'll buffer the transactions a bit like we've all maybe in our lives done, card payments, and the shop is saying, "Oh, there's a problem with card payments," but they'll all go through. So that's just software, right? It's stacking up transactions. Um, there are more critical situations where, if you're running a medical scanner and it doesn't, scan, then what do you do, right? There's all kinds of repercussions, and some of them might be going back to physical work, right? I mean, so we see a big variety, and I think this really puts the onus on how do you track the life of the software and its updates, right? It's every piece of software has a birth, has a life, and has a death. But in between that, there are perhaps a few major versions. Perhaps every year there's one or two big versions, and perhaps every month there are little minor versions. So how do you communicate that to the end user, right? What kind of say do they have in that? And again, the middle ground there is there an IT operation as the kind of custodian of that process?
Well, this has me actually thinking live here. How could this impact an automated build environment? I mean, what if
Mm,
my build system, my CI/CD process doesn't get an update, a critical update, or even just a normal daily operating update?
yeah.
If my build system fails and I'm meant to deliver builds on a daily, weekly, quarterly basis, if I miss that build process, that could be what, tens of thousands of dollars impact if your builds fail, and not just to you but to your customers, and it's a downstream kind of a thing. Updates can also be handled in an automated fashion, right? For those systems that maybe don't have a person manning them, watching them. How,
Yeah.
how do you update those? How do you make sure those are connected to the environment to not get left out of that update process?
I think it's about planning, right? I mean, it's about knowing how it's going to roll out, right? How the plan is going to, in effect, make sure everything's updated in a timely fashion. But more importantly, what are the dependencies, right? What else relies on that working, and what is the recovery, right? As we have on here on our slides, these are small words, but they're very important. You know, if you don't have an update that works well, what's the impact of that to the business? It might not just be that bit of software.
Hmm.
Um, and not getting too technical, but Windows installer, right? Microsoft software installer, MSI files, they've been around a long time. One of the out of the box capabilities is that they can roll back, right? They're just a database of transactions going from top to bottom to do things, install files, install shortcuts, create registry entries. And if it becomes, untenable for that installer to continue, it'll stop, bang. And if it's written well, it'll roll back. So you do
Mm.
the same thing at a higher level. You need to consider what happens during that rollback, that's recovery. And fundamentally, really to wrap it up, it's all about communication. We all know that in business, right? It's about informed consent. It's about communication. It's about expectation setting. And if you don't do those things, you can have the world's most beautifully crafted update, process, and install, and most amazing software. But you know what? Bad news travels fast, right? And if it doesn't exit graciously, however good it is, however expensive it is, however critical it is, okay, however pretty the splash screen, if it bombs out on an update, that's going to be really, really well known very quickly to the wrong people. So that's probably in conclusion, that's the highlight that we need to consider.